everybody. Welcome to She Said, She Said. It's Saturday night. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're going to have, it's a couple who've been talked about very much recently because they were made, well, to disembark from a Cebu Pacific flight from Hong Kong to Manila. And we'll talk to them a little later. But she said that, what did you say?
I said that I actually, if it happened to me, I actually don't think I could accept any reason.
Yeah, okay.
For the disembarkment.
Okay. And I said.
And you said. What did you say?
And I said that.
If airlines go down with their rates, then they shouldn't go down with their service.
Yeah.
They shouldn't lessen their service.
I said if airlines decide to drop their prices, they should make sure their service shouldn't be dropped either. So only because they're the airlines that offer the cheapest prices.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been able to get tickets from Manila to Cebu for 188 pesos. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little later. But meantime, on the show tonight we have the parents of Arvin, who's a special child who's 16, but we have the parents here tonight. We have Marites Alcantara and Jerry Alcantara. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Yes, we had you guys earlier, so if I haven't had sleep, then they haven't had sleep either. But for the sake of everyone watching that may not have been too familiar with what happened, can you recount for us, Marites, because she was there on the flight, what had happened?
Yeah, from the very beginning.
This happened on when? December
23.
Right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas.
This was a flight
from Hong Kong to Manila.
From Hong Kong
to Manila. It was actually a 4-day holiday for all the cousins of Arvin. It's the Christmas gift actually of their lolos and lolas. So I'm the only tita with them during that flight. And
How many were you?
We were like 10 in that flight, but the other, we were total of 17 in Hong Kong, but
they were on other flights.
On another airline actually, not on the same airline. Anyway, we were already seated, and I was just asking the purser if he could help me with my luggage because the overhead bin on top of our seat was already full. And that's when I noticed him looking at my son, and then instead of helping me, he took out a manual from the same overhead bin on top of us, and then he started browsing through the manual and keep on looking at my son. So that's the time I kind of feel that something must be going on. Yeah. Something must be wrong.
Because you were asking help for your bag, and he wasn't paying attention to that because he was pulling out the manual.
Yes, that's
okay. That's one point. Okay.
And then eventually, after a few minutes, the flight was supposed to take off at 9:55. It's already past 10. We're still in the evening. It's still not taking off. So we assume there's a problem, but they're not telling us. I can see the crew looking at us, the crew grouping in front of us, and then moving towards the rear part of the plane. Apparently, there's another special child seated somewhere in the middle or towards the rear of the plane. And then, finally, one of their crew members approached me and asked if my son is ill. I told them, no, he is not. And then they were asking for a medical certificate if he is fit to say that he is fit to fly.
But why did they ask if he was ill?
Yeah. Was he seated? Was he lying down or sleeping?
No, that's maybe they judge through his physical features because it's not.
He's thin.
Yeah, he's thin and he's
thinner than normal.
You would say you'll be looking like looking at a 10-year-old boy rather than a 16. Rather than a 16-year-old.
How did he look? Maybe was he tired because it was 10 p.m.
Yes, probably. And plus, we've been walking around Hong Kong the whole day, so
for 4 days.
Yeah, he's practically tired at that
so
time.
He just pooped.
Yes.
Was he noisy? Was he moving around?
I would say he was in his best behavior during that time.
Okay.
So I can simply understand what made them
think that he was sick.
However, maybe there are some features in his face that we would say that he's special.
Yeah,
although
but not sick.
Yeah,
but not sick.
Wasn't like he was lying down or he had red eyes.
Was he slouched?
Actually, he was asking me
sneezing?
if he could use the bathroom at that time, and then I was telling him a little later when everything's okay already. And anyway, after a while, they asked me if he's ill. They're asking for medical certificate. And then when I told them, why would I need one when you didn't ask for one when we went to Hong Kong and we're already flying back home. So
And he wasn't sick. Okay.
And he wasn't
anyway.
sick. And then finally, they asked me to stand in front of everybody. And then that's...
And of course, at this point, because the flight should have been taking off, everybody's seated
Was
already.
looking and say,
tendency is you
okay,
look in front, they were
what's
the first
happening?
row,
They're
right?
delaying our flight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Right.
delaying the flight for 1 hour and 10 minutes when the flight should have been only 1 hour and 35 minutes.
Right.
So you can just imagine.
It was
the
even longer
anger.
than the flight.
And
Yeah.
the time.
Yes.
It's already
The time,
10 p.m.
Yes, yes.
People
And
are
then-
tired because you have to be in the airport at least 7 o'clock, which means you would have had to leave Hong Kong City itself at around like 5 o'clock.
5:30, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Moving
And
right
then-
along, yeah.
Finally, they asked me, what's the condition of your son? Because there's nothing wrong with my son. He is a special child. So it's from me, that's the way where they got the term probably special child. Probably they don't even know what special children are. However, then finally they told me that I need to get off the plane. So for what reason?
How did they say this?
Actually, they're kind of arrogant and rude the way they
Not
had.
even nice.
Not
Okay,
even
so,
nice.
so how did they say?
One of the crew even told me that you have to get off the plane so as not to further delay this flight.
Just like that?
Okay, and
Actually,
what did the others say?
I told them because sabi ko, for what reason? Because they have a policy that says no two special children can be on board the same flight. When I told them I'm not familiar of the rule, and if ever there is such a rule, you should have told us way
Upon
ahead
check-in.
of time.
Yes, yes,
Upon
yes.
check-in, exactly. Upon
Yes.
check-in.
And why would they choose you over the other child?
Actually, I asked the same question. Why us? They told me because the other child checked in ahead of us. And then I told them, how could that be? I checked in online. So there's no, I already
How
have.
do you know, right?
How do
Yeah.
you know?
I could
And
have checked in at the terminal, the train station, where you can check in your bags from there. And
I actually checked in online. I even paid for extra for the seats that I got. And then I even
Okay.
told them, isn't it obvious I got 1A and 1B seat?
so obviously,
Obviously, I
early.
checked in ahead of everyone
Everybody.
else in this
Yes,
in
yes.
this
Yeah,
flight,
yeah.
and there's no reason for me to be in the airport earlier than
Because I
anybody else.
already
Already
have
have a
checked in.
seat.
Yes,
I already
yes,
have a seat.
yes.
So when I told him why not at the check-in counter,
Yes.
they answered me in Filipino. Actually, they said hindi siguro nila alam.
Yeah, but why is that your problem? That's their
And
problem.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I told them. Kung hindi nila alam, the more hindi ko alam because I'm just a passenger.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be your rule.
Exactly.
Your
That's your
crew,
job.
your
Yeah.
crew should have known that in the first place. And then further,
Were there any adults with you?
She was the only one.
And
But
everybody
actually-
else was a teenager?
Yeah, like
not
15,
all
16,
like
21, yeah.
There are like 20s. They're considered adult already, but
Okay,
however,
but
I
they're
feel
all your niece
I feel
and nephews.
I feel responsible
Okay.
for everybody,
Yes,
and
yes,
they're
yes.
only asking the two of us to get off the plane.
Okay.
And then furthermore, discussion went on. They keep on insisting it's in the manual, it's in the manual. And then I already saw my son sitting there. He was quite. I know at his age. He could understand because
what is going on.
he's
Not to mention, he wanted to go to the bathroom.
Yes,
and it's
also.
been an hour, and he obviously can, even a 2-year-old can sense when something is
it's going wrong. So
Yes, yes.
I saw him weeping already silently. So that's
He
the
was
time.
crying,
Yeah, he was already crying.
That's when your heart started to break.
Oh yes, because I decided to just sit down and ask one of my niece to talk to them, and then finally I don't know what exactly went through the conversation, but I just heard my niece saying, you know what, this is a clear case of discrimination, and we can even sue you for this. And then the purser even answered her, go ahead, ma'am.
See?
Really? And do you have the names of all these people?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I
got
wish I
them.
were on that
Did you
flight.
take down their names and show them that you were taking down their names?
I actually asked one of the crew, the lady crew, can you give me the name of that person who initially would want us to get off the plane?
Okay.
And then I gave her a piece of
What's
paper.
her name?
The purser.
The person. It's a guy, actually.
It was a guy.
Yeah, it's John Castaneda.
Right.
And then
and the one who asked you to get off?
And the one who said, go ahead and sue us.
that's the same
That's
person.
John Castaneda.
Yeah.
Who's the first? Is he the one that you were saying, I need help with my bag?
Yes,
And then-
it's the same person.
So it's John. It's John Castaneda.
And the other one who told you to get off?
It's the other crew and him also. He's the
With
one
him.
insisting. He's the one insisting that it's in the manual. It's in the manual.
So he is a purser.
Yes, that's what
Okay.
I believe. He's a person.
And so the thing is, so How did they finally fix this? Of course, at this point, all the passengers are antsy. Everybody wants to
and
leave.
everybody's listening.
It's causing
And
a delay.
Actually, I feel so humiliated because
You were
we
standing.
were standing, we were discussing, and without the other passengers knowing what we're talking about,
Yeah.
because they might even think I'm a criminal. They're asking me to get
Exactly.
off
Yes,
the
yes.
plane. So
That
finally,
is humiliating.
it's very
Yeah.
humiliating. It's very discriminating, and the way they're asking you to get off the plane. Plus, when I finally say that I was ahead of everybody checking in this plane, they finally told me that, Mom, it's easier to get your luggage out of the plane. That's the reason why we're asking you instead of the other
Why?
person.
What's the difference?
Maybe because
okay.
it's
yes,
You're the
yes,
last
it's
one in.
last in, first out.
last in first
So,
out.
But why do you
they're
have to get
contradicting
out?
what they said.
Yes.
First, they said there can be no two special children on one flight, and
Yeah.
then now they're saying they're asking you, even if you checked in first, is because it's easier to get your luggage out.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, but my question is, let's just say there really is a rule. How does it matter to them if there's more than one special
Did they
child on
explain?
board?
Where actually there was no explanation during the flight. We just later found out what was written on the manual is that no two mentally ill patients.
Yeah, but this mentally ill means like crazy, and
Yes,
they will
crazy
cause a
people.
ruckus. But
Yeah.
obviously, because as there was one passenger who actually stood up and said, I was on the same flight with them from Manila to Hong Kong, and the child was very well behaved. See, obviously, this person who didn't even know them, who she doesn't even know, she wasn't able to get his name, was already like telling them this. Yet,
And
they
this
made
is a
such
passenger.
big issue, yeah.
A passenger who was with us on our flight from Manila to Hong Kong.
Well, after he told them that, what was their reaction?
Nothing.
Okay, so you were discussing things, and
And then I just
your niece came up.
and
How
then
did they finally say, okay, we'll let you
they
sit?
didn't say anything. Just the plane just flew.
So
Because
okay,
I told them, they keep on insisting that I should get off the plane. And then I already called my husband in Manila. I turned on my phone.
you were already in the airport, right, waiting for them.
Yes, I'm waiting at the airport.
So Jerry, when Marites calls you and she tells you, I'm in the airport, I'm inside the plane, and we can't leave. How did you feel?
So many negative things rushed through my mind, and I was worried because if they were able to get my wife off the plane with the child, and it's already 11 p.m. and they are asking them to take this 1:45 flight
A.M.
a.m.
Which would
December
mean they were-
24th.
of the 24th.
Yes.
On
This
the
is
24th.
Christmas, and people are acting like it's not even Christmas.
Yes.
Yes.
And things like rushing through my mind, like what if they were not able to board the plane? What if the plane is full? And my family, my wife, she's all alone with a special child with 4 luggages.
And
Yes.
it's cold.
How
because it's
could you
cold in
move
Hong Kong,
around
yeah.
Yes,
with 4
yes.
luggages and a special child?
Yes.
And if they were not able to board the plane, they have to look for a hotel at maybe 2 a.m.
That's right.
Yes.
Those things are rushing through my mind, and I was very worried. And I told Tess that don't get off the plane no matter what happens.
That's very
But
good advice.
How nice of you to think of all those things. I would probably think of doing something irrational. I mean, like,
Yeah, like you and
I
I
would
would
really
have
be
gone to Pacific here.
so
or-
angry. I mean, you were so calm. I mean, you were thinking of where they would stay and how she would carry the pieces of luggage. I mean, I would think about maybe, well, okay, never mind what I think about.
No, tell
Well,
us.
I was nervous and I was angry
Yeah,
as well.
I think it's also more difficult for him because he was here and he wasn't there with you. It's difficult for the one who can't do anything about it.
When you were angry, what were you thinking? I'm going to sue this airline, or how can they do this to my wife, or
Well, I was more worried at that time for my child.
Right.
And knowing his condition. Because the reason I allowed my wife and my son to go to Hong Kong is because they are with my niece, and some are binatillos already.
Yes.
And
Right.
they're big. And they could help Tess when maybe she wants to
Carry
take a
and
bath.
take- yes.
Somebody could take over to take care of the
Yes,
child.
yes. of
but
course.
leaving them both.
Leaving them, the task will be all over her.
And not only that, if you did feel like Tess couldn't handle Arvin on her own, you
wouldn't have
been
let
in
her.
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's obviously
You would have gone,
know,
or you wouldn't have let her go
yeah.
alone.
Obviously,
Yes, I would do
for
that.
you to be able to let them go for 4 days, and by the way, that 4 days went on so smoothly with no glitches. So obviously, a father and a husband will not make the child and wife go on their own if he didn't think that they can handle themselves.
Okay. So you were there discussing, and then what
And
is the
then
last thing that
finally,
happened before
like,
you flew?
The last thing I remember is that you